All right, these notes are going to be over still triangle congruency, but now we're going to talk about two other ways. We had a set of notes that talked about side, 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 and side, angle, side. Now we're going to talk about these next two. What I want you to notice is both of these have two A's in it. Okay, so anytime that we find ourselves with two A's, these triangles, it doesn't matter what order these letters are in, unlike the side, angle, side, S, right? With your two A's and an S, you're going to have congruency, okay? So we can go ahead and kind of note that to ourselves. If we have two A's and one S, or so two A's and one S will always be congruent. Pause it and finish writing that down. What you're going to notice, though, is you're going to be asked, or you're going to have to identify whether it's the AAS or the ASA. So you do have to pay attention to what order these letters go in. So let's first talk about the AAS. We're going to have two angles, and the non-included side are going to be congruent. Okay? So we talked about the included angle. An included angle where that A was between the two S's and SAS. But now you have the non-included, which means it's not in the middle. So here's that non-included side. It's going to be after two consecutive angles. Exactly how the letters go. You're going to have a congruent angle, then you're going to get another congruent angle, and then a congruent side, looking at right here. Okay? So we have these angles right here, and we'll go ahead and fill this in. So if angle A is congruent to angle D, as we see in this picture right here. Okay, we've got to angle E. Colors. We have another followed by another angle than the non-included side, the side that's not between them. Okay, and it can be two angles. So here we have segment BC is congruent to segment EF. So with these three things being congruent in this order, and here's a little S, so we see that S is not between the two A's. And so that's what this whole thing is we're going to have angle, then an angle on the side. We'll have triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. Okay, so we're looking at the S is after the two angles. Okay, so here the S is after you hit both angles. So the S is not between the two A's. So our pictures need to show the exact same things. Let's go ahead and take a look at our first example here. Is the set of triangles congruent by AAS or not? Explain your answer. Okay, so let's first take a look at what they've given us. I see here that I've got an angle right here. So I have two congruent angles. And I'm noticing these congruent sides. So I have an A and an S. So right now I'm looking at saying I only have an A and S. I need another A, and it's got to be, you know, it's got to be this guy here. Because if I put it here, then that S is between them. But we do have congruent angles right here. Again, but in the last video, the last set of notes, specified that you have to look for these vertical angles. Okay? We have to look at the vertical angles. You're going to have to recognize them by yourself. So here, we can write in vertical angles with a little asterisk next to it. Making sure you're seeing these are very, very important. So we have another A. So, especially when we get to the next one, we want to make sure that we look and say, okay, where is the S located? Where is the side located? Is that side between the two A's? No. So we have A, A, S. When we're cruising down, we start at an angle, we go to another angle, we go to the side. So here we have yes, answering the question, they're congruent by AAS, and we're going to specify even more specifically two angles and a non-included side, meaning a side that's not between the two, are congruent. Okay, so we have the two angles and a non-included side is not included between the two angles. Pause and finish writing it down if you need to. All right, so our next problem is we had another weighted problem like this on our SSS and SAS. We're looking at what bit of information is missing to tell us that these two triangles, triangle KML and triangle UST, are congruent by AAS. So we need to make sure that that side is not between the two angles. So here I'm seeing that angle K and angle U are going to be congruent. And they've also told us that angle L is congruent to angle T. You actually have two different options here. The only thing we cannot say, the only two sides we cannot say are congruent for AAS is the side between the two angles. So we can either, right in here, we can say that segment KM, because it's not between the two angles, KM is congruent to, and we need to find the one that matches over here, so we'll get more into this in CPCTC. It's very fun to say. I'm going from the angle with one arc to the angle with no arcs, so we need to do the same thing over here. So side LM is going to correspond with side US. Again, we'll get more into that later on. So you can either have that these two sides are congruent because the side is not between the two angles, and that's the goal, not included. LM and segment TS are also not between them. So you have two different sides that you can have congruent. So either one of those will be accepted as an answer. So if we go segment LM, being congruent to segment, went from L to M, 2 arcs to no arcs. So we're going to go TS, 2 arcs to no arcs. Don't focus too much on the arc thing just yet. We'll get into that later. So this is your side. This is your angle side. Check out where the S is. Check out where the side is. Okay? The side is not between the two angles. The S is not between the two A's. Well, let's change it around a little bit and let's state the opposite of that. All right? Now we have angle side angle. So now the S is between the two A's. So that's why I was saying anytime you have two angles in one side, two A's and one S, you have congruent triangles. Okay? So this is two angles, and now we have the included side. Right? But again, even if you have two angles in the side, you have to know, is it angle side or is it angle side angle? So you have to look at the order. It's very important. So here we can check out angle A right here and angle D are congruent. So we have angle A is congruent to angle D. And then we're checking out here. We're seeing that, figure out what color I'm going to. Here we go. We have these segments. Notice the order I'm going in. It says angle, side, angle. So I can't throw the other angle right here. I've got to go to the side. I have segment AB is congruent to segment, went from 1 arc to 2 arcs, 1 arc to 2 arcs, DE. Now we'll go to the third angle, what it says right here. So we have angle B is congruent to angle E. And because of that, we can say triangle ABC is congruent to, and just kind of a heads up, that order of the letters matters whenever I get to the second one. I went from 1 arc to 2 arc to 0 arcs, so I have to go D, E, F. 1 arc to 2 arcs to 0 arcs. It's not always in alphabetical order. Ooh, I forgot my little triangle guy. Triangle D, E, F. All right, so 3 examples here. Let's take a look at the first one. Is the set of triangles congruent by ASA? So now we're going, the side has to be between two angles. So first, let's check this out. I've got a set here with 1 arc. Okay, so I have that angle. I have another set of angles over here. So I have two A's, but I have to have a side. Well, I don't see a side marked congruent. Again, you have to be able to recognize this shared side or reflexive side. I always just call it the shared side. Okay? So we have to remember here, we'll note shared side or reflexive side. Okay, I've always just called it the shared side. You have to be able to see that on your own. Okay? So now I want you guys to see the order of the letters. They will literally go in a straight line, whether it's diagonal. Spell out ASA in a straight line. Angle, side, angle. Right there, no skipping. Okay? So here we can say, yes, two angles, and the included, there's my and sign, sorry, the included side are congruent. So now we have the included between the two. Pause it and get that finished writing, please. Example number 4, what information do we need to say that these two triangles are congruent? Well, guys, I need you to see something here. We saw something a little bit different than, the last two pictures up here or any of the angle congruencies. I need you guys to recognize that we have a 90-degree right angle at angle C and at angle R. All right angles are congruent. Okay, so we have an angle here. Well, nothing else is marked, but again, we have to remember what to look for. Two things that we have to mark on our own. In this case, we have vertical angles right here. Anytime you see these triangles, look for your shared sides and your vertical angles and mark them immediately. Okay, just get that out of the way. So in order for this to be ASA, okay, we need that S in the middle. So here, I've got my two A's, my two angles. I need the side between them, just like that S is between the two A's. So straight in a line, ASA. All right? So now we need to write down that segment CS, that side right there, is congruent to segment RS. And that's the only one. Okay, with AAS, we had a couple options. There's only one side between the two of them. The included and non-included are kind of like opposites. Okay, it's either between the two angles or it's not. The last question is going to ask us, state extra information that is required so that you know that they're AAS. After that, tell what information is missing to show they're congruent by ASA. So let's start with AAS. And let's first look at what information we have. We have that these two angles are congruent, so angle QDC and angle EDC are congruent, so we have an angle here. Oh, and there's that thing that you're told to look for. One of the two, your shared side, right here. You have to be able to mark that congruent on your own. In order for this to be angle side angle, okay, if we choose these angles right here, that side is between, okay, it's included. So we have to pick, we've got this side, we've got this angle, the only other angle option is going to be right here. So that way we have angle side, okay, this angle would include the S, so we have to do angle Q, being congruent to, and the letter is going to correspond with angle Q, it's going to be over here. If we're just looking at this triangle right here, okay, we've got angle side. So we have to do angle E. We don't have an option with those two given information. Well, what about ASA? So this is a little different because we need the A, the S, and the A, all three in a row. So we have to choose these two angles right here. We cannot name them angle C, because if you say angle C, I don't know whether you're talking about this one right here or this one right here. So we do have to use our three letters. So we can say angle QCD, this thing right here, QCD, is congruent to angle, let's start over here, ECD. Again, they share the vertex. That's why we couldn't name it angle C. And that's why they share the same center letter where that vertex is. All right, so this is what we need for ASAs. They fall right in a line.